It was supposed to be a quiet, enjoyable evening at one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. A well-dressed couple walked in, ready to celebrate a special night together. They looked confident but respectful, just like any other guests. As they were seated and began to settle in, something unexpected happened. The restaurant owner, sharply dressed and oozing authority, approached their table with a tense expression. His eyes scanned them carefully, and in an instant, his demeanor shifted. Without hesitation, he leaned in and said, "I think it's best if you leave." The room fell silent. Other diners glanced over, confused by this sudden confrontation. The couple, calm but clearly taken aback, tried to reason with him, but it was no use. The owner insisted they leave immediately. What could they have done to provoke such a reaction? But here's where things take a shocking turn. What the owner didn't realize was that this couple wasn't just any ordinary pair of diners. In fact, their true identity would soon leave him regretting his decision in ways he never saw coming. By the time he found out the truth, it was already too late, and nothing would ever be the same again. The couple stood up slowly, exchanging a glance that said more than words ever could. The woman kept her composure, while the man gave a polite but firm response. "We'll leave, but are you sure this is how you want to handle it?" His voice was calm, but there was something about his tone that made the owner hesitate for a second, just a second, before doubling down. "I'm sure," the owner replied, brushing off the question. "We have a reputation to maintain." His eyes scanned the dining room, clearly more concerned with how the other guests were perceiving the situation than what was actually happening. The couple didn't argue. They gathered their things and walked toward the exit, all eyes following them in silence. The woman gave a final glance back, her expression unreadable, before they disappeared through the large wooden doors. What happened next sent shockwaves through the entire restaurant staff. As whispers began to circulate about who they might have been, the owner's phone lit up with an urgent message. His face paled as he read the name. It couldn't be, not them, not here. He rushed toward the front entrance, heart racing, but by then it was already too late. The restaurant owner rushed outside, scanning the street, but the couple had vanished into the night. He stood there for a moment, the cold air biting at him, trying to make sense of what just happened. His phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't just a message, it was a call. The voice on the other end was calm but direct. "Do you have any idea who you just threw out?" A sinking feeling settled in the pit of his stomach. He tried to answer, but no words came out. The voice continued, "That wasn't just any couple. You've made a serious mistake." Before he could respond, the line went dead. Back inside, the staff watched nervously as the owner returned, his usually confident stride replaced with something almost hesitant. Whispers filled the air, waiters exchanging glances while the diners tried to focus on their meals, pretending they weren't hanging on to every detail. The atmosphere had completely changed. In his office, the owner paced, trying to figure out his next move. He tapped through his phone, scrolling frantically, until he found what he was looking for, a photo of the couple. His hands trembled as he read the article beneath it. They weren't just important, they were untouchable. The owner couldn't believe what he was seeing. His heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the screen. The couple wasn't just wealthy or connected. They were high-profile figures known for their influence and power. People who could make or break entire businesses with a single word. And now, thanks to his rash decision, he had thrown them out of his restaurant in front of a full house. He sank into his chair, running his hands through his hair as panic set in. How did he miss the signs? They had been calm, respectful, and composed, too composed, in fact. They had never raised their voices, never caused a scene, which only made it worse. This wasn't the kind of couple that would forget what happened and simply move on. They had the resources to take action, and he knew they likely would. Meanwhile, in the dining room, the tension lingered. Some guests whispered among themselves, curious about what they had just witnessed. The staff tried to carry on as usual, but the unease was impossible to ignore. The owner picked up his phone again, considering his options. He thought about calling them, offering an apology, but something told him it was already too late. The damage had been done, and all he could do now was wait. Wait for the consequences to unfold. Just as the owner prepared to make the call, the front door of the restaurant swung open. His assistant rushed in, eyes wide with panic, holding a folded newspaper. "You need to see this," she said, breathless. He snatched the paper and unfolded it, his eyes locking on the headline. There on the front page was the same couple he had just thrown out, only now their story was public. They weren't just influential, they were the guests of honor at a major event happening that very night, hosted by some of the city's most powerful figures. The article detailed how they had a reputation for showing up at establishments unannounced, often supporting local businesses by featuring them in interviews and publications. But there was one detail that hit him like a punch to the gut. They were known for testing how business owners treated their customers without special recognition. They valued kindness and fairness above everything else, and they made sure the world knew how they were treated, good or bad. The owner's mind raced. It wasn't just about salvaging his reputation now. If this couple decided to share what happened, it could mean disaster. His hands trembled as he realized the stakes were far higher than he ever imagined. The owner knew he had to act fast. He grabbed his coat and rushed out the door, determined to find the couple and make things right before it was too late. His mind replayed every moment from the night, hoping there was still a chance to fix his mistake. He finally tracked them down at the nearby event, spotting them just as they were about to head inside. Gathering his courage, he approached with an apologetic look. "Please," he said, slightly out of breath, "I need to apologize for earlier. I had no idea who you were. It was a terrible misunderstanding." The couple exchanged a glance, and for a moment, the owner thought they might just forgive him. But then the man smiled, calm but deliberate. "It was never about who we are," he said. "It's about how you treat people, no matter who they are." The owner felt a chill run down his spine. He realized the damage wasn't just about his reputation. It was about the values he had ignored in his rush to maintain appearances. The couple walked away, leaving him standing in the crowd, stunned. The next morning, the article was updated. His restaurant was mentioned, not for its food or service, but for how it handled its guests. The world would soon decide whether it was a lesson learned or a mistake too costly to recover from. The fallout was swift. By mid-morning, the article had gone viral, and the restaurant's name was suddenly everywhere, but not for the reasons the owner had hoped. Comments poured in online, some calling for accountability, while others debated whether it had just been an honest mistake. Business slowed down almost immediately. Tables that were once fully booked sat empty, and the hum of a busy dining room turned into an eerie silence. The owner knew there was no quick fix. He gathered his staff, addressing them with an honesty he had rarely shown before. "We lost our way," he admitted. "But this is a chance to change how we do things, not just for the image of this restaurant, but for who we are." The staff nodded, and for the first time in a long while, they felt like a team again. In the weeks that followed, the restaurant underwent a transformation. Policies changed to focus on hospitality for every guest, regardless of status. Slowly, regulars returned, curious about the restaurant's new direction. It wasn't an easy road, but the lessons stuck with the owner. It wasn't about the reputation they had. It was about the one they were building, one guest at a time.